Okay, welcome to Packaging Today. I am Cory Connors. I'm taking over for Evelio Mattos today. He double booked himself apparently. So we've got a special guest, but first we've got Mr. Adam Peak, the host of People of Packaging and senior something or other at Myers Printing.
Yeah, that's the right title.
Yeah, see, or is it Senor something or other?
It just depends on which side of the border you're on.
I love it. And we have a special guest today, my friend, our friend, Mr. Ryan Fox, who is the market analyst for Bloomberg. How are you, Ryan?
Good. How's it going, guys?
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks.
Ryan, I was really disappointed in Dubai because they had a Bloomberg set. There were all sorts of people there from Bloomberg. And I was like, is there a Fox's Boxes report here or what's going on with the UN stuff? And there was no Ryan Fox. They did not care about boxes with foxes.
No.
The box report with Ryan Fox. I don't know.
Probably no love. I don't know.
We're sending you next time.
I don't threaten me with a good time. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to let everyone know that my current setup here in my hotel room is a chair sitting on top of a coffee table. So I'll take a photo. It's pretty special. what I got going on right now.
I look forward to seeing that post.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah. Oh, we've got Andrew Fraser here.
Good morning, Andrew.
Good to see you, sir. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. And if you're listening, please tell us where you're listening from. Tell us what you do for work. And we're excited to hear from everybody. This year has been an incredible thing. We're not going to do a 2023 end of year thing because Evelio is not here. We'll do it next early January because I think that we'll all be here. We'll all be hyped and ready to go and talk about kind of this year has been crazy. And I think I've never experienced some of these things that have happened this year and that we've been a part of. And it's been incredible. So I'm excited to recap it. But while we've got you on, let's talk to Mr. Ryan Fox about the market today for corrugated. Ryan, You want me to put your slide up?
Well, so let's just let me start with the obvious here. If you're in and around the industry, this last about month, it came with some surprises.
Yeah. So price increases, right?
Well, yeah. So what was really crazy in mid-November, the benchmark publication dropped prices $20 per ton, and then within 10 days. Almost all of the U.S. producers said, no, we're going a different direction. We're raising our prices $70 a ton.
Right.
And so everyone has lots of questions about it. We are still kind of gathering data and trying to piece this thing together as to its credibility and how well this might happen. But I figured we would talk about what we're seeing in the industry right now for demand.
Yeah.
Kind of as a good proxy. So the first slide you'll see is, so every month we go out and we talk with as many box plants as we possibly can. And so we ask them a high level question. What are you seeing for box demand? What does it look like? And if you want to put that slide up, we can show.
And you're speaking to converters, you're speaking to mills, you're speaking to
right,
small to huge, right?
Right. Yeah. Big, small is whoever we can get to talk with. And we're not asking them to give us, secret information. We're just asking them for their gut. What does their gut say about what demand is looking like? And so this is a distribution. And, every month it's somewhere usually around 80 to our high has been a little over 120 box plants that we have at this outreach with. So this is a very small sample relative, but it's probably close to about 10% of box plants. And you'll see the distribution of the responses can be anywhere from down 10% or more to up 10% or more. And in December, this was largely pointing to a kind of a marginal up flat-ish December. And so we do this for the month coming up. This is from November. We asked people in November what they thought was going to happen in December. If you want to go to the next slide, we asked them for kind of their 90-day heads up. What do they think's going to come down the road in the first quarter? Oh, sorry, I got to do that.
You have to advance. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Gosh, my bad.
I can only do so much, my friend.
Yeah.
This is why we don't have guests on, Cory.
I know.
I love technology. So you'll see similar sentiments, a little bit more narrow in their responses. There's some cautious optimism is a very popular word right now. We're cautiously optimistic. We think it's going to be up, but that 0 to 2% up is not a huge, level of upness.
Right.
And so that's something that we've been seeing. And just for grins and giggles, this is how our sentiments have tracked with actual shipment data, right? So when we put our sentiments together and say, well, how well did we do with predicting or signaling what might happen? You can see very, very carefully here. The yellow was our sentiment, so a little higher than the blue most of the year. There are a couple
of sentiment means what people think is going to happen,
right?
According to the people that you talk to.
Yeah. So we're asking that's that whole 2 slides ago here.
Yeah.
So this is a 1 month forward-looking sentiment, and that's how we kind of gauge this. Is we'll gauge this 1 month forward-looking sentiment against what actually happens. And so we've seen this is a pretty new data set. It's about 2.5 years old. So we don't have a long history here, but more often than not, it's probably 2 to 3% more optimistic. Mm-hmm. So if the signal was flat, we would think it's probably flat to down 2 to 3%. And that's just the normal kind of error. We'll have another, if that's 8 out of 10 times, and you'll have one time that they're a little bit more pessimistic by maybe 1%. And then you'll have that 1 month that's like something crazy happened and no one could have foreseen it, and they were off by 8 or 10%.
Right.
So,
which you saw a lot of in the last few years, right?
Well, we haven't really seen that much of it. Here in April, there was a big gap.
Okay.
Right? That's probably the biggest gap that we've seen, where we knew it was going to be down, but it was down far more than we had expected. So with that, so people are asking, okay, so when do prices move? And this is some history here where we've shown kind of if the blue line represents a benchmark price, we've indexed it to 100 in 2016. We can show where the operating rates go up and down, and that dashed line is 90%. And that seems to be the threshold more often than not. When operating rates go below 90%, the prices come down. And that's should be pretty standard, like basic economics, supply demand. When your mills aren't running at 93 to 95% capacity and they're at 80, 85. I mean, here when was this, in June? Let's see if you can, right in here. My pointer here is 77% mill operating rate.
Wow.
Pretty low, which means there's lots of opportunity for people to take advantage of, that oversupply. So paper prices were definitely moving, and you can see they fell quite a bit. So we're still looking to see what's going to happen. We're still, I think, in a state of oversupply relative to where demand is. And so the price increase, on the one hand, certainly seems to want to defy gravity.
Well said.
Well, so let's take another look. Here's some other interesting tidbits. We've seen a number of new mills open. So we've talked about the expanding capacity. This is part of the reason why the mill operating rate was in the 70s. We had a lot of expansion. Companies were opening new mills. And then in the back half of this year, you've seen some closures. And some of them took a lot more than others, but we've seen a lot of adding and subtracting. So we're almost at a net zero, which should help bring that mill operating rate back up over 90% and stabilize prices.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Wow. What kinds of plants are you seeing close? Is it kind of the outdated, or the ones that are in areas that aren't as busy, or what's your thought there?
Yes. So on the one hand, you've got mills that are closing down, and those are largely older mills or mills that need a lot of capital investment.
Mhm.
On the other hand, we are seeing some box plants close, and they are older box plants. They have older equipment. They may not have the staffing that they need.
Mhm.
So every company has its own metrics that they're looking for, that they're trying to achieve. And so if that box plant isn't achieving the metric that they're looking for, they are going to figure out how to get that plant either up to where it needs to go, or they're going to shut it and spread the love with some of their talent. And so we
Right.
have seen some of that. We've seen probably, maybe 12 box plants close. Nothing super significant.
Is that pretty normal for a year, or is that,
Well, since
or is there
2000,
a normal, right?
well, I don't know if there really is a norm. Since 2000, we have seen a downward trajectory of the number of box plants. So we're probably down about 25% over the last 20 years.
Interesting.
However, they're able to produce that much more out of those plants. A lot of these plants have been investing, and this is kind of where we don't have a great metric to measure this, but we do want to acknowledge that the expansion in capacity, not only in the mills, but in the box plants, is kind of where we're really finding ourselves kind of converging here, where it's not simply, supply and demand are out of whack. It's no. Box plants have made a lot of investment to try to keep up and to try to stay competitive. They've done a lot of things like investing in automation, because labor has been a very difficult challenge.
Right.
And there are some very efficient box plants out there. They all have plenty of capacity. And so that's kind of right now where we're seeing things, that it's not simply the price should go down. It's the price is going down because people are fighting over business. And how do you win business right now? Well, more often than not, people are lowering the price. So
we've got Mr. Mattos back. How are you, sir?
Hey, how you guys doing?
Oh, good. It's time for me to go.
Where you going, man?
So, Cory, here's another one just to kind of show the magnitude.
Yeah.
Mills have been taking extensive downtime to try to bring things in equilibrium, to say, hey, we've just got way too much supply. We've got to idle the mills. And all of this is, public information. So it's not like you're seeing any secrets here, but these charts.
Here. Ryan, you can only get this information right here on Packaging.
Well,
You've heard it here first.
Your exclusive source.
Yeah.
I've been corrected.
For waterfall graph.
I've been corrected.
Come on, Ryan, throw us a little bit of some.
All right, so let me tell you what you can't get anywhere
Kids
else.
already make fun of us.
Right. So we put together a model about 2 years ago, and this model, it's not in any kind of this isn't dollars. This is just a kind of a point value. And what we noticed in this model is that as the model goes up and down, we have seen that the market responds with price increases and price decreases at various levels. And from a very high level, when this model goes up about 50 points, we typically see the industry come back with a $50 price increase. On the way down, it's not quite the same scale. On the down, it's maybe 70 to 80 points, and that would get you $20 to $30. Okay.
That's per ton.
No, well, yeah, per ton. Yeah. So in this model, we saw at the very high point to the very low point, it moved about 210 points. And if you were to think about it, just in those broad generalizations that I gave you, 210, if you were to say it's 3 moves of 70, and that 70 points of movement downward were $20 to $30, that would be right around the $90 for the movement that was reported by the benchmark publication going into November. So it moved another 20. And so what's very interesting was we started to see this model go up, and it really started to go up in July, August, September. And guess what? It went up 55 points. And we were like, whoa, wait a second. Could we potentially see a price increase here? So we saw this in about August. It stayed elevated in September. It stayed elevated in October. It came down just a little bit in November. But it's still about 50 points up. So it does kind of match, what we're seeing in the marketplace with the desire for a price increase. So
interesting.
Yeah.
A desire for, are we really desiring a price increase?
Well,
not us, Evelio.
the major U.S. mills are all looking for that price increase.
Has anyone ever looked for a price decrease? They're like, I just can't wait for that moment where we can lower our prices.
That's Black Friday.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah. Only in November.
Crazy. So, joining a little bit late here, guys. Did we may have covered a lot of this stuff already? Like, did we talk about the retailer and brand personal savings rate, how it continues to go down? Did we hit that?
No, we have not.
So
we have not. So yeah, there are a number, when you step outside of our data, there are lots of other signals, right? So one of the signals that we pay attention to is also the PMI, which is the producer, the Institute of Supply Management has a purchasing managers index. Well, for the last 4 months in a row, they've reported corrugated box prices coming down. So that kind of is okay, well, maybe that's one of the reasons why they're trying to raise prices. They want to kind of stop the erosion of box prices.
I don't know if you guys saw yesterday and today the shutting down of the Suez Canal. Or if we hit that?
No, I didn't see that.
The Suez Canal? Oh yeah, because of the pirates.
No, actually they're being attacked by a variety of different technologies. They're either drones, just because of what's happening over there. There's been 4 major shipping companies that have shut down those routes, and they're actually going around Africa, which is adding weeks and thousands of dollars per container all of a sudden, right? And that's something, whether it's coming or going.
Well, similarly, the Panama Canal is seeing a reduction in the number of ships going through, and probably by the middle of next year, it'll be down to about 18 ships in a day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do think it's important, and we don't have to dwell on this too long, but I had a prospective customer reach out to me, and they said, hey, we brought in some packaging from, I won't name the country, but overseas. It was for a launch for one of our customers, and the quantities were incorrect. And so we needed to get more, but there wasn't time. And so sometimes I do think there needs to be a little bit of a better analysis of supply chain risk relative to cost, and why I think we are seeing a bit more onshoring, though I don't know what the data is. I don't have a graph like Ryan does. I can say that I have received more phone calls for people specifically with like RFID labels asking like, hey, are you sourcing, your antennas and stuff like that from overseas, or are they here in North America? Because we can't afford the supply chain risk.
Right.
And even now more in folding cartons, where I didn't see that as much with folding cartons, but I started to get more phone calls because of the insecurities globally. It's like, I can't even guarantee, I don't even know how I'm going to be able to factor in, like somebody commented the conflict in Gaza, and then you've got, the Suez Canal. And then if the pandemic, it's like, how do you mitigate that risk without having multiple, I'm not saying everything can't be made in the US, but I'm saying like, you have to have contingencies in place in your supply chain.
Right.
And you would have learned that during COVID, but it's like everyone sort of got a little bit more comfortable, and they're just like, okay, we'll just go for the lowest price. And it's like all this stuff happens, like, oh shoot, no. I don't know, but I know Evelio, you do a lot of work overseas, so
I do a ton. Realistically, most brands are global. So, if you're like if you're a small local shop, and you're here in the US, then it doesn't necessarily make sense to be going overseas. But if you're a global brand with, offices, headquarters, retail stores in Asia, in the Middle East, like, as a well-established global brand, then producing locally doesn't necessarily make sense.
no,
'Cause
it doesn't.
there's no
I'm
real,
talking more like food and beverage companies, cannabis companies that are,
Yeah.
US based. But anyway, that's a whole other rabbit trail that we can go down. And Ryan doesn't want to hear
No.
us talk about that. Ryan, what's your
Are you
favorite?
kidding?
but it's interesting. I guess, Ryan, what are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, there's a total global oversupply.
Mhm.
Not only
Or-
of where you can get packaging, but paper packaging specifically. So the opportunities are moving away from what you can do simply domestically, but globally. So I'm not surprised to hear that news. But to Adam's point, there's something to be said for dealing with a local rep that has their own controlled supply chain.
Right.
Yeah.
The way I
The
would describe
challenge-
it is like if I'm trying to get from Salt Lake City to Atlanta, I probably want to get on one flight. Even it might cost me more, but I want to remove the risk because
Mhm.
airline is fraught with risk right now, right? So it's like pilot shortages, it's December, there's weather problems. I don't want to connect 4 times. And so, I don't see as much. I don't always see that nuance in procurement of packaging, as much as you would think that there would be there.
Right.
And we had a little bit of it at post-pandemic.
Mhm.
It sort of went away, and I'd be curious if some of this is all new news to me. I don't follow the Suez Canal.
You're not on their
And the
Instagram
mailing list.
No, I'm going to start following them on MySpace, though. I'm pretty sure.
Good. Good.
Yeah.
I recommend
It'll
that.
be your top 8.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
that's a good
the
question.
challenge is,
Andrew's got a great question, actually, if we want to pull that one up. Not actually, like Andrew doesn't ask great questions. Actually,
he usually doesn't.
Actually, it's kind of one of those phrases like, actually, the food tasted pretty good. It's like, what were you expecting?
So what
But
are the
Ryan,
impacts?
It was nice to talk to you, Adam.
Actually, it was nice having Ryan Fox on the show.
So what are your thoughts here, Ryan? We don't get you on here very often, so
Yeah.
we're gonna pepper
I mean,
you with
listen,
questions.
I don't know. I think the impact is probably better for Europe than here in the States. I mean, Smurfit is a very small presence in the US, mainly in the Southwest, Texas, into California. So I don't know that it's going to be a huge, shakeup in the US. However, for Smurfit in Europe, WestRock has a lot of the folding carton and automation machinery stuff in the Europe market. So if Smurfit didn't have that, that's going to really augment what they can bring to market there.
So
Yeah.
I got a question for you, and you might have covered this.
It's okay.
Before this, Ryan, you and I kind of chatted about a bunch of stuff. UPS and they went on strike, and the reduction in volume regarding corrugate. Like, how's that? One, did we cover that already? And two, how's that impact us?
So we have not covered that.
Okay.
So it's probably important to note when a lot of companies talk about e-commerce, the definition around e-commerce is dramatically changed just in the last 2 years. E-commerce is no longer simply about you have a website, people come to your website, they buy something, and then you ship it through some 3PL, whether it's a FedEx, UPS, just post service, whatever. Now we're starting to see things be referred to as digital sales, right? So they've interacted with your company, they've purchased something online. They may have like Instacart deliver it. They may pick it up at the store. There's a number of things going on there. And so they're really highlighting this trend to move digitally. Again, adopted during the pandemic, shocker. And it has stuck around. But what we haven't really seen is a massive uptick in e-commerce, like the traditional e-commerce. So when you look at like the average daily box volume through a UPS and a FedEx, those numbers are definitely down from where they were during the pandemic, but still very good, all things considered. So it's, when you look at the box data for 2022, we saw the e-commerce box buyers volume come down by about 10%. Now, the data is not perfect. It is what it is, but it is insightful that we did see similar trends from the carriers that would say that's a pretty respectable figure.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say kind of in line with that a little bit is, we're seeing a lot of brands that are touting carbon emission reduction, but in terms of, there's a dog in the background.
That's
right.
Max. He's a pit bull Chihuahua mix.
Say hi to your dog.
That's awesome.
No, so like in terms of carbon reduction, we're seeing brands that are claiming carbon reduction, but really their sales have gone down, their e-com orders have gone down, and they're taking a negative and turning it into a marketing positive, where their sales may have dropped and like, hey, look at our carbon reduction, but it's really just we're just not selling as much. Which is you never really think of it. You're like, oh my god, these guys are doing great, but you always have to kind of look at the data and where is that actually coming from.
Tomato, Evelio. Some say lower sales, some see lower carbon. Just how you frame it.
Sustainability for the win, right?
Yeah,
that's right. Either way, however we can spin it.
I actually had a really fascinating conversation with a gentleman named Roger Pielke Jr. He runs a site called The Honest Broker. He's been a climate scientist since the mid 90s. He's a professor of climate science now at CU Boulder. Really fascinating conversation. And I asked him point blank, I said, what are some things that CPG companies can do for climate change? Yeah. And I was like, big companies when it comes to packaging. His answer was, yeah, not much actually. Because he said
pessimist.
What happens with packaging in terms of climate impact is actually a
minimal,
the smallest, tiniest sliver. He's like, what you can do is advocate for policies. And that's where I did ask the question. I was like, so what about like coal production? Like, should you be tracing your emissions back to like coal producing countries? Because he kept talking about how coal is so detrimental. And he said, yeah, that would be one way to direct policy, is to, track where you're getting your goods manufactured to countries that are primarily using, things like natural gas, nuclear, wind, solar. He's like, because it was a fascinating conversation to hear him be like, there's not really a whole lot you can do. So you have all these companies who are like, we've reduced our carbon impact by, X on our packaging. To your point of value, it's probably like, we just sold less. And it is good marketing, but in the overall grand scheme of climate change, and this is the big takeaway I even got from the UN Climate Change Summit, was like, oh, packaging is not really important to anybody. When it comes to climate change, there's obviously a high importance on various other levels, but
yeah, I was talking with a group that does a lot of packaging buying here recently, and they showed me a chart of their internal kind of where they're trying to make improvements, and you could see the scope 1 emissions and the scope 2 emissions and the scope 3 emissions, and they're like, and this little bitty sliver is packaging. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, but
yeah,
every little bit helped, right?
Right.
And
yeah, I mean,
this is what I always say is like, I can't impact what happens on the product development side or coal production. I can impact this. I can impact this section of something that's like this big, right? I can impact the packaging side of it.
Right. Yeah, I'm not saying it's not important, obviously.
No. Of course.
It was fascinating to me that like carbon impact is not really impactful. I mean, because there's only so much you can do with packaging. You're very limited with the amount of materials that you can use. It has a lot more structure to it. That was kind of his point. It's not like packaging doesn't matter. It's just like we can do big things with policy, and we can do very, 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 very tiny things because there's only so many different things you can do to ship a product. You know, you can't innovate so much around shipping. You can right size it. You can use the different materials, but at the end of the day, you're limited, right? So yes, do the right thing. Obviously, keep doing the right thing, but it's why we keep having all these arguments internally, because it's like it's not as impactful. Although the Amazon team did tell me we need to focus on packaging because it's our most customer facing aspect of it. And that's,
they do need to.
That was where, and they are. Cory, calm down. You
know,
and if they've
when
done,
I talked to the Amazon team, that I've been totally impressed with them. Absolutely impressed. Yeah.
So
but if you're doing
pretty
something
impressed by this.
Yes.
from box to get box, But if you go to that's not as fun having that under a tree. But for them it makes sense, right? Because if you make the customer feel like you're doing something from a sustainability standpoint and you're reducing carbon footprint, moving into the right materials, then you feel less guilty about ordering more crap. That's kind of a part of it too. So it's a self-serving. But as we kind of start wrapping up here, we're going into the holidays. We'll have another video posted on Monday. We won't be live, but it'll be one of our best of next Monday. But I think one thing that we did touch on, Ryan, was people aren't really buying a lot of stuff for holidays. I know. I love what you're doing at home for Christmas gifts. I'm stealing that from Ryan. I'm doing the same thing in my house. And just real quick, Ryan, you're not really getting your kids gifts. You're just giving them cash.
Pretty much. Yeah. I have a 12-year-old that still wanted some gifts. So we are doing a little hybrid there, but by and large, we're like, here, kids, here's some cash.
Yeah. And same.
And no wrapping paper. There's no wrapping anything.
Yeah. And
it's in your account.
Yeah. What do you got? Are you guys getting a lot of gifts, Cory, Adam?
No, not much this year. We're taking a trip instead.
Yeah, definitely not. Actually, there will be. Our problem is we have a lot of kids, and I know what causes it. And it was, all that.
What causes a lot of kids? Yeah. All right. Good.
Yeah, but,
that's a different podcast.
We have the thing that I struggle with the most is my wife and I try to limit it to like 2 to 3 gifts per kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it's still like 80 gifts at your house.
It's so many gifts. But then it's like there's grandparents and there's aunts and there's uncles, and each kid wants to try to get somebody else. And all of a sudden it's like, what are we going to do with all this crap? And I actually find I'm a bit of a Scrooge because I'm like, gift giving is like, I'm going to buy you something that I hope you like. And then you're like, I have to pretend I like this. And it's just like mediocre at best, instead of just like, like you said, Ryan, I would much rather be like, hey kids, here's some money, go order stuff on Amazon, and then we'll wrap it all up. And then you'll surprise people with the things you wanted to buy. It's like, oh, now everyone's happy. And there's still an element of surprise.
Yeah, but I feel like this is just happening across the country and a couple, I'd say across the planet, where people are buying less for the holidays because at this point it's so easy to buy stuff that we're just buying it throughout the year. We're just Amazoning, I need this, and you Amazon it, and then Christmas time comes around, and you're like, oh, I don't really need anything else because I already have it. Which is, I think like the internet has just reduced the demand for products. And then we have a lot less downtime. Like when we were growing up, it's like you would watch TV and you'd see commercials and you'd get excited for the next, He-Man product or whatever, thing was out. And you don't really see that stuff today. Like you're on social. You're not really, we're on streaming. We don't see a lot of commercials. We don't get excited about whatever the next new thing is as kids.
Yeah.
So there's I don't know. I think that's also a part of why we're going to see some box demand come down. Is we're not buying stuff in boxes very much.
Well,
or it'll be more flat. It'll be more throughout the year, like you were saying. Yeah.
we just published our 2024 outlook, and we called all of that out in our analysis of what we think could happen next year. I mean, during the
And I
pandemic,
appreciate you giving me credit for all that.
hey, what can I say? You
Nice
had the
job,
great
Billy.
idea. But I mean, during the pandemic, people bought new grills, they bought new TVs, they bought new furniture, they bought new everything, right? And some of those items have a little bit of length. I mean, how often do you buy a new grill? Adam buys a new grill every other month or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
No,
Grill
that's
master.
cars.
that's cars.
That's right.
I
And grills,
They
like
don't go in
teeth
boxes.
grills.
Yeah. Teeth. Yeah. Good.
No, that's culture appropriation, Evelio, and I won't stand for it.
All right, guys. All right, so we're wrapping up. We're wrapping up, like Hugh says.
For
Got
the
a couple
holidays.
episodes.
Love it.
Yep. We got a couple episodes coming up of other stuff. I know Packaging a Box. Go check me out on YouTube. Trying to do some new things there as well. You can check out the latest video for Crumble on the new rebrand, see what they're doing and kind of how that's coming across. Adam, are you posting new shows?
Yes, I have a lot. I've recorded too many, and I need to get some episodes out that I recorded in like August. I'm so sorry. I'm really trying hard. So yes, I'll have hopefully 2 episodes out this week and 2 episodes out next week.
Amazing. And Cory, you got some coming up?
Yeah, I just posted one brand new one today with Brent from Fuse Neo. We talk about all kinds of stuff from sustainable packaging to Pec Expo to mimosas. It's a really fun episode. Brent's a cool guy.
Yeah, Brent's awesome. Go check
Thanks
those guys
for
out.
introducing me to him, Evelio.
Yeah, those guys do some cool stuff. If you want to see a really cool unboxing video, go to Fuse Neo's YouTube page. They unbox a car. They ordered it was like a $2,000 car from Japan, and it gets delivered to them, and they unbox it, which is crazy. At this point, they've like torn the car apart, and they've like remodeled it into like this Mad Max vehicle, which is pretty cool. But definitely check out. You've never seen a car get unboxed before. And then Ryan, where can people find you?
Here on LinkedIn, and you could email me if you want, rfox93@bloomberg.net, and connect that way if you'd like.
Bloomberg
Nice.
doesn't have .com for their email.
Well, so there's a lot of people within Bloomberg, and there's a .com that a lot of people see, and then there's the Bloomberg product behind the product that people really don't see. So yes, we're
The guy behind the guy.
Yeah, Ryan's the guy behind the guy.
behind the guy behind the guy. I don't know how many behind the guys there is, but it's down there.
Mr. Bloomberg.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're not going to get Bloomberg reporting anywhere else ever other than Packaging Today show.
Not on any other topics.
That's right. So thanks a lot. I appreciate everybody that's been supporting us and following us and commenting. I mean, we love interacting with you guys. If you have any questions, definitely throw them in here. We'll check it out and we'll answer you throughout the day. Appreciate you guys. Happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
Live from Studio 3, this is Packaging Today.